So I would imagine this probably folks thinking right off the bat, they're thinking, okay, you're doing the pet sitting and we've got a mobile pet spa, right? And
Yeah.
where we get involved in trying to expand this and franchising, how did you even come to even think about maybe even franchising this concept? Because there's so many local kind of businesses that would
Right.
do this.
Absolutely. I actually started looking at franchising back in 2015. I went to my first IFE conference in New York
Nice.
and started networking and meeting other franchisors and just learning about it because at the time we were really exploring what was the best growth strategy for Woofies because we had, especially being in the Metro DC area, very transient. We have a lot of government, a lot of people moving away. We had so many clients that would move out of the area, call us and say, I need a Woofie's, we need a Woofie's. And so, we had to really make that decision. Do we remain in Ashburn, which is where we started, and
Hmm.
just have a really fantastic local business? Do we have some corporate owned locations or do we franchise? And the more I learned about franchising, I really fell in love with the concept of it because I think, especially for our brand, with taking care of people's pets, going into their homes. It's a very personal business, and
Yes.
anyone who's a pet owner can relate to that. Our pets are our babies, and I wanted someone who owned the business. I wanted somebody that was opening up our Reston, Virginia location who owned a business, had that financial, that emotional investment in the company, because that's what I think is so needed for this type of business. It is not transactional. It is such a relationship based business. So the more we learned about franchising, we just felt like that was the right strategy for us.
Yeah. And, the pet business is so similar to the child related businesses that as parents, we'll always spend more money on our pets and our kids than we ever will ourselves. It is a
Seniors, pets, and kids. I mean, those are the three just very special groups.
absolutely. And no matter what the economy is, really from a recession resistance aspect of investing in a business, a business involved with obviously pets or kids or seniors is going to be able to hang in there.
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely proven the model over the years to be recession resistant. And then in 2020, we unfortunately had to add the label of pandemic resistant. That's what I had in mind when we started franchising. Obviously, life happens, and that was certainly the biggest business challenge and the toughest business climate that we could have imagined. So, as a young franchisor, and then also at the time owning a corporate location of 100 plus team members who have worked with us for years. That was a very tough time, but that's where you just have to move the business forward and you get through it. So adding that pandemic resistant, again, not a label I wanted, but I think we've definitely proven that model out.
and
So
and you should be proud of it too.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I want to kind of go back to the beginning though. What makes Woofie's really your business unique in an industry compared to others that are non-franchised?
I think first and foremost, having the blended service offering, you have the pet sitting, dog walking side, and then you have the mobile pet spa, mobile grooming side. And having those two lines of recurring services, I think is especially appealing for a franchise owner, but it also what makes us unique because we build that relationship with the client. So a client might come in because they need overnight care or some pet sitting visits or a midday dog walk when they go back to school or when they go back to work. Or they might come in on the grooming side. But being able to offer those blended services, I think, is what makes us very unique. But also, I would say, is really the heavy focus and again, kind of the blend of professionalism, but that really high personal touch. And we saw that in the early days with our business. And there's a lot of people who are so wonderful that get into the business of the pet space, but it's a business. You really like this is not a hobby. It's not a cute little dog walking job. This is somebody's home, somebody's pet. It's a lot of responsibility. So having that high level of professionalism, but not being so corporate that you lose that highly, highly personal touch, because that is what makes, I think, Woofie's special in the owners that we're bringing on as franchise owners. They get that. They have that business savvy, but they have that passion for what they're doing, that commitment to be part of the local community, because that's what gives you longevity in this industry. You've got to be very personal with your clients. You have to provide the exceptional service. You've got to be part of your community. All those different factors just contribute to having a long-term business.
Yeah, Amy, that's a brilliant fine line that you just balanced right there by saying you want to have that professionalism, yet have that personal touch, because you don't want to come off too corporate.
No, work.
Yeah, you can't come into somebody's house, you know, flying by the seat of your pants with no rules and no systems, because then people don't feel comfortable like you have your act together.
Right. And anyone who has a pet can relate. Just when you go out of town, you want to make sure someone's coming over at 7 a.m. or when they're doing an overnight, they're taking care of your pets. They're not throwing a party or out something they shouldn't be doing. It's truly just that responsibility and giving those customers that peace of mind. And that's really what we aim to have with our clients, is that strong relationship, that personal connection to them and to the community, but also being that trusted resource for them so that they can go to work all day and know that their dog's getting walked, or they can go out of town and go on that amazing Greece vacation and know that their pets are being very well taken care of.
You're really in the peace of mind business, aren't you?
We are.
That's
absolutely.
That's ultimately what business you're really in.
Well, yeah, I always say, obviously, we did not create the concept of dog walking and pet sitting and mobile grooming. There's lots of competitors out there. And I always tell the franchise owners, we do a competitive analysis, before we move into any market and really understand who's out there. But I always tell them, focus on you and your business and what you're doing and what makes Woofie's unique. There's always going to be competitors, but providing that peace of mind to the customers and building that relationship and having that trusted name in the local community is critical to be successful in this type of business.
Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fiume, or Emerging Franchise Group, LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its host do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.